breaking all the bars. Yo, the crowd's feeling it, energy's alive. Spotlight on the tails where the future arrives. Bass in the air, every story's a spark. Late night on bass, we're light in the dark. Bass night stories on the stage, we vibe. Talk show magic where the chain comes alive. Tokens in the flow, let the legends provide. Late night on bass, we're taking it worldwide.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Late Night on Base. Today, we got Tim on. We're going to talk a little charts. We're going to talk a little about trading, because if you're in the trenches, you need to know chart history, chart patterns. They say, sometimes people say, Tim, oh, you believe in TA? That's lame. Or some crazy stuff, and I shake my head. I'm like, NGMI, not going to make it. Trading is very much part of any asset, whether it's digital or physical. It's all perceptions about how others are looking at certain things, probabilities, whatnot. But without further ado, though, Tim, my friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks for having me on, Mr. Bill. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right. Well, before we get into it, as we get the stream populated, tell us, Tim, who are you and why do you know TA and why should people care?
Yeah, so I'm Tim, and I've been trading crypto for a couple of years now. I started back in 2020 when we had that COVID crash. I got into it, made money on your favorite coin, Doge, and was hooked ever since. So got some good mentors and learned all types of TA, but eventually found what worked for me. And, some people say TA doesn't work, and those are the people that look at Carl the Moon on Twitter, who's just drawing lines straight up. But in any market, whether it be gold, whether it be Bitcoin, stocks, whatever it is, the market moves off of liquidity and volume. So these two things are important for market makers and for hedge funds and for anyone trading. And so we're able to use that as a tool to see and predict what can come next. So like you said, it's all about probabilities. Nothing is 100%, but we can put the risk in our favor.
Absolutely. So tell me, Tim, all right, so let's talk, before we get into the specific charts and whatnot. By the way, everyone, this stream is sponsored by BitTuneX. If you're looking for a non-KYC exchange, highly recommend BitTuneX. Literally, it's got pretty much every asset that you want. It's easy to use, a lot of liquidity, really good customer service. Actually, Tim, I don't think I told you, I deposited ETH on base address, but it was supposed to be for my ETH address, so it got mixed up. Wasn't happy. There's a lot of money in ETH is, but the customer service was great. Within 24 hours, they deposited it back to my account.
Wow. That's amazing.
Absolutely. So if you guys do want to come and join, we're giving free rewards. Link is actually in my Twitter, so please make sure you do that. But all right, Tim. So tell us what before we get into specific charts, let's start with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is the thing that drives the market, that drives the sentiment. Bitcoin's down, alt's down, things are compared to BTC ratio dominance, all that. So it starts with the big daddy. What are you seeing currently for the major player, Bitcoin?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's obviously the king of the market. So let's take a look at it. So basically, we're obviously in this range right now, ever since this high the other day of 123,000. So we dropped down pretty violently right here and obviously had a nice retracement. But lately we've been ranging, and it's really interesting because as Bitcoin has been going sideways, a lot of alts have really just gotten killed, right? So that's something to consider. But this is a very, very simple chart pattern right here. It's obviously a triangle. So one of the techniques I studied for TA is called Elliott wave theory. And so triangles are quite common in wave fours. And so what I mean by a wave four is if you zoom out on the larger structure, ever since this low right here, you can see that we have a sort of 5-wave structure right here. So right from the low, we have a 1, 2, big, aggressive, impulsive wave 3. now we're building that wave 4, and then that's setting up for an additional high for a wave 5 like this. And so what we're seeing here is a lot of sideways consolidation. This is also common in Wyckoff as well. It's essentially where market makers are starting to distribute, either distribution or reaccumulation. So in this case, based on inflows, we can assume that people are buying. So in this sideways period, ever since the price goes down in these areas, there's actually more buying on the down than there was right here. So that creates a divergence for us. And you can see that in the RSI as well. So that's a very positive thing. So my prediction for Bitcoin is one of two things. Number one, I think we either put one more low on this triangle and then shoot up, completing our wave 5, or what's very common in these triangles are fake outs.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is I think it's very possible just to take out this low right here. And so one of the techniques I use are called TR pocket fibs. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with Fibonacci, but
I am.
it is. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen your post as well. You're talking about it too. But for those of your audience that don't know what Fibonacci's are, essentially they're mathematic ratios that show up all over life, not just in charts, but literally, if you think of a shell or a butterfly or any kind of leaf, all of that is made using mathematic ratios, and that's why these patterns occur naturally in life. And so these same patterns and math can be applied to financial markets. And so one Fibonacci that is always present, especially after ranges like this, is the 1.272 and the 1.3414. And so based on this range right here, it's very high probability that if we do a fake out to the downside, we usually reverse right around this area right here. So not only that, but we also have a 4-hour fair value gap, which means there's a lot of untapped volume in this area. And so I could see just a quick downside move right to that area before continuing that upward momentum.
But for right now, the trend is up, you're saying?
For sure, the trend is up. Yep. And you can even see here that on this very high point right here, we had the highest point in the RSI right here, meaning that we had the most aggressive volume buying at that point. And typically below, before we get a major drop, you would see a bearish RSI, which we haven't had yet. So having the highest RSI right on this point shows us that it is in fact a wave 3 impulse, which is the most aggressive impulse. And what I would think to happen next is on the next high right here, around the $126,000 price zone, if we don't get as aggressive of buying, that would be a bearish divergence on the RSI. And then if we do reject around here, that's when I would personally think of a bigger drop could be in store. However, if we do get tons of buying momentum and tons of buying volume, where this RSI does get higher than this, we won't have to worry about that. So we just have to see what happens when we get up there.
So do you basically, when you figure out, all right, the extension with your price targets, are you looking more at like the RSI, or are you looking at, the levels just to see if the bearish divergence is going to form? Or like, say for instance, you look at this trade. So right now you have this pennant or this triangle. For those that don't know, how do you calculate the fib extensions? I mean, I know, but for those that don't know.
Yeah, so these are the actual ones that I use for that TR pocket that I mentioned. So if anyone wants to screenshot this, go ahead. You can copy this yourself. The tool I'm using is called the fib retracement tool. And all it is you go from the high of the range right here. And I'll actually do this so it looks a little easier. So the high of the range right here to the low of the range right here. And so that will give you the fibs for a potential breakout. And usually, whichever way it breaks down first is the fake out.
Yeah.
So if we actually break up first, then we would get more of a downward move, in my opinion. But if we break down first, it allows a lot of people to get liquidated, market makers to fill their orders, and then we can go up from there. And the reason that I have two on here is because we have two ranges. So if I go on a smaller time frame here, you can actually see that from this low right here is actually the range low of this bigger range, and this is the range high. So in this, smaller range, like the tighter range, these are still valid fibs, but we do have to consider the larger range at play. And so, in my opinion, I would use these larger fibs if we break to the upside first, because those will give us the clearer targets. But if we do break to the downside first, I'm more comfortable using this tighter range because I have this 4-hour fair value gap as confluence. And then lastly, on the fibs, from this low, which is a significant low before this huge impulse, and from the high, you can also pull a fib extension using these fib tools, which the 618 is the golden ratio Fibonacci. And so that is the most commonly retraced to Fibonacci. And the reason for this is a lot of hedge funds and big players, they all use algorithms in their trading models. Like BlackRock uses an algorithm called Aladdin, and it has trillions of dollars under management, not controlled by humans, but controlled by AI. So they have hard coded in this algorithm to use these fibs, and we can take advantage of that. So basically, if you look here, that 618 also matches similarly to our other fib area down here, as well as the 786. If the 618 does not hold, commonly the 786 is the next significant retracement. So that's why, in my opinion, this entire area down here is a heavy buy zone if we get it. And then furthermore, on that Bitcoin chart as well, we have to remember our previous all-time high was right here at 112,000 roughly, and it has not been retested yet. You can see we had a significant breakout, but no retest. So if we do come down and retest it and hold above it, in my opinion, that'd be very, very bullish.
Would you say right now, I could argue that the fake out already occurred. So based on your little chart, I'm seeing that it kind of did have a little deviation down to like 115, 116 right there. Could that be considered deviation?
It can be. And I was ready to buy this actually, but I was really expecting it to break this wick low right here. Because yes, it took some liquidity here, like it took this liquidity. But typically you want to see it like sweep that low, because this was a substantial low, right? This is the heavy violent move down, then we get a move up, then typically we get one more low to create that bullish divergence, and then we get that move up. So I was actually very surprised that we didn't break this low, and that's why I'm not fully confident that we're going to be headed up quite yet, just because this low did not get taken, as well as this one. And then on the daily time frame, we even have a daily fair value gap, which is the gap between this wick high and this wick high. And typically this is something that, holds up and gets tapped before continuing to the upside. That has not been hit either. And so that also matches the 4-hour fair value gap. So I'm not sure if we'll get it. We might do that move up first. But for me, if I was looking to take any long positions, I'm going to be wanting to wait for that bigger liquidity grab.
For the sake of my blood pressure, I hope there is no more deviation, sir. I hope it's up only from here, because that's better. Actually, the last couple days have been massive, in my opinion. Enough blood for my liking, sir. So please proceed.
Yeah, I think alts definitely had a lot of liquidations. I think over 500 million liquidations in the last 24 hours. But I'm surprised that Bitcoin barely moved.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the wicks currently right now are pretty strong on Bitcoin. So yeah. I honestly think it's going to go up. It's going to break. It's going to go up. I mean, those are strong wicks. There's buying pressure. So let me ask you this before we kind of get into a few charts that you're looking at that you're specifically liking. Um, what's your target for Bitcoin for this cycle? Do you think it's done on this next impulse up? As you're saying, Elliott wave, that would be wave 5. If you're saying this is the count, this is the wave 4, which is your correction, which would mean then what would fall after wave 5 would be an ABC correction, which would be pretty substantial to start again. So do you think the rally is done after this next leg up? And if so, what's your target?
Good question. So I think it can be done short term. Let me pull up this chart again. So now I want to be clear, from the low. I think this impulse wave, or at least from here, is the one we were talking about. I think that isn't our main, like this move up isn't our 5th wave of 5. So what I would think is that if we do go up without retesting this area first, then I think from here, and we always get this kind of near the end of summer, is if we go up here, that's when I think we can do that ABC down to the actual retest of the previous all-time high.
Which
and then
what was that again?
112,000.
Okay, so you're thinking this next wave up takes you to, for those that might not be able to zoom in, that takes you to around 127, and then that would be your ABC correction. You know what's funny? I actually think it's gonna happen. You know why? Because, and then what would happen? Then that would actually be super bullish because that would be your start of your wave 1 once that ABC is done. You get 5
Right.
more moves. I actually think something similar is gonna happen. I think this next leg up is going to go, and then before September, there's going to be a correction. And so one thing I don't know if you know this about me, but I study the esoteric as well. I think there's a saying, millionaires don't care about astrology, billionaires do, and I follow it a lot. And so there's things called blood moons, and there's new moons, full moons, but blood moons in particular. I'm not even sure if you know what these blood moons are, but blood moons in particular are events that happen every couple of years, and they're always marked by significant events in the market. Case in point, 2022, there were 2 blood moons that year. It literally coincided with the time that Luna collapsed and FTX collapsed. And in March of this year, there was a blood moon, and the market took a huge. That was when Trump and everything all went to hell. It was a top, and it got substantially crushed. There are 2 straight blood moons coming up as well. Actually 3 this year. We've already done one. The second one is in September, which would coincide with what we're seeing. Bitcoin tops at that level, then alts run, and then people are going to think this is crazy, and then boom, you have a substantial correction from 127 to like 110. That's pretty substantial. Alts will get crushed. Everything will get kind of bad, but the show can continue to a late rally towards the end of the year. One final leg up, and then we have a blood moon once again in March of 2026, which I suspect will be a disastrous time in the market.
I'm pretty sure I got liquidated on a blood moon once.
Bro, short it. Next time if you think it's frothy and you see a blood moon coming up, or even a full moon, man. New moon, full moons, if you would have seen, a couple days ago, today is actually the new moon. No, the full moon. No, today's the new moon. New moons typically have been a cycle or short-term tops, and you would have done pretty well with a lot of these alts, but food for thought.
Yeah. And then your other question too on that note was my cycle top or at least price target.
Yeah.
This is the log chart of Bitcoin since 2015, which is long enough for at least this data.
Yeah.
But I think we have this like clear range low here and this clear range high back from the 2021 cycle top. And so I'm taking these same TR pocket range Fibonacci's up here. And it's actually pretty interesting. It gives me a target of 160,000 all the way to 200,000. Wow. So that would be my range up there. Also, what's pretty interesting, if you draw a horizontal line like this, we can get the potential for a bigger wick through these Fibonacci targets. There's always a potential for a 618. Basically, what tends to happen is if these first Fibonacci's don't hold and just get like ran through completely,
Yeah.
then the next one would be the 618 on this. And so that actually lines up with basically like this. And you could see that aligns with like a November 2026 cycle top of 480,000, which would be
Wait.
pretty insane.
You think you're gonna get to November 2026 420?
It could, bro.
Nah, bro.
475,000 based on this. And because look, if you take the another trend line from down here, remember this is all on log. You're kind of shaping up with this, where we've been in this almost exact channel like that. And then I'll draw one more based on this that will give us a different number. But based on this, we've been in this kind of channel right here. So I'm going to zoom in more because I kind of like this channel. So we have this symmetrical channel right here. And as you can see, we've just been bouncing off the bottom, bouncing off the top. So the next top on this channel lines up with that earlier prediction, the 161,000. And that would be, could be as early as August, September. But again, we could do that previous all-time high retest. So come down like this, then finally get it. Essentially, the point being is once we do start either pumping or dropping, I think this channel is going to be very, very relevant. And it's going to be our next bottom or top.
Have you ever? I love the analysis. I respectfully disagree. I think there's a zero chance we're gonna be pumping in November of 2026. I think the cycle ends this year, and I think also I align that as well with the esoteric. In a horse year, next year is the year of the horse. The enemy of the horse is the rat. Bitcoin was founded in a rat year, and typically the last time there was Bitcoin energy in a horse year, that was 2014. That was the collapse of Mt. Gox. I think Bitcoin is going to go literally. I think it'll get destroyed. And also, I would just point out that channel that you've shown, not this one, the bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll back or you zoom back, that channel that's forming right now, you can argue that's a first wave Elliott wave ending diagonal. There's the 1, 2, 3, and the fifth touch point does not have to hit the top channel. It can literally end where your red box is. And if you form that and you converge it, and it is an Elliott wave ending diagonal, wave 2 is going to be extremely painful. So I'm counting that this is an ending diagonal. I think it's not going to clear this. And I think people are going to get crushed if they think this is only going to go up only. But could be wrong. I don't think
Check on Michael Saylor.
Michael Saylor, I don't know. I think I think he's not as good as everyone says he is. I'm sure he's shorting it somehow. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe for public optics, and then it's something on the side. Like I don't necessarily trust those guys, but that's how I'm looking at it. But all right, Tim. So before we want to keep going. By the way, we have over 275 people tuning in on all platforms. Solid amount.
Amazing.
Let's talk specific alts that you're looking at. We talk Bitcoin, we talk global. Let's talk about the trenches. What are we looking at?
For sure. And then, real quick, last thing. I do think these areas are more likely the 160 kind of area. And then, just so everyone knows, typically after these fibs are hit, you get a retest of the range. So it could potentially be as shallow of a correction as this, which would put us around 68, 70. But like you said, if there is a bigger drop, there could go low. But we'll do another stream when that happens, and we can look with more data.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure your audience likes ETH, so we can start there.
Let's do it.
So ETH, everyone has probably seen this diagonal on ETH, and we rejected back into it the other day, but now are coming off of it, which looks really good. If we go into some smaller time frames, you can see that last night we actually swept some really nice liquidity. If you look the day before, this wick right here, it actually did not break below any of these wicks right here. And then it kind of did this correction up, then finally swept it. So that created a bunch of people shorting at these lows, and then we just rocketed up. So that looked really good on ETH. Now we need to see some follow through to the upside. As you can see, this wick right here just swept these highs. And so there's a potential for some downside from that if it is bearish, but we can also pull our fibs that we mentioned, our golden pocket fibs. We're rejecting right around that commonly retraced to fib area. So that's pretty important. But I do want to say we had some nice bullish divergence. You can see right here. To me, if I was a betting man, I would say ETH continues to the upside and at least takes out this high. Now, if it does, what are the targets? Again, we formed this beautiful range right here. So what we can do is take our range high to range low, slap on our TR pocket fibs right here. Oops. Oh, no. There we go. The sorry, the thing is in the way. There we go.
No, you're good.
Okay, perfect. So up here, short-term correction zone right here. If we do pull up one more high, but there's no significant liquidity points in that area. So to me, we at least need to come up here and take out this high. Now, when it does do that, there's two decisions. Is this just a liquidity sweep of these highs and then a bigger drop? Or is this finally the breakout that we've been waiting for? That's going to be the key here. Now, one really, really nice, beautiful support resistance level on ETH is this black line right here. Let me make it bigger for everybody. This black line down here, you can see how often this has held as support and resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So if we do get a bigger drop that we've been talking about, maybe this is that big drop on Bitcoin to retest the previous all-time high, it would be around the 2,800 level. I think everyone needs to mark this on the chart. And if we do get a dip, this is where you should be buying ETH. The second area, if we get a shallower drop based on this range, is actually quite nice. It's the yearly open price of ETH. This tends to be another big support and resistance level, and it matches perfectly with our fibs right here. So if we do get a smaller drop, you could look for some longs on ETH like that, and then put your stop loss a little bit below, and then you can target these highs right here. It would be a 6R trade. So make sure you're using Bit2Next for that if you plan on taking it.
I think people should definitely use Bit2Next. That's really good analysis right there. Yeah, I mean ETH drives the market, so obviously ETH, if it continues strong and reclaim certain levels, then your memes are going to go. But let me ask you this, Tim. So ETH is great, but people want alts. ETH is still kind of like a top 2. What are some of the projects that you specifically like? Is there any in the top 10 that you like, or maybe even the trenches? Which ones are you looking at? If ETH is strong, others should do pretty well. But what other ones do you like?
Yeah, let's look at let's look at Doge here, because in preparing for this stream, I saw something quite nice. Doge, obviously, we had this big move up, and I'm zooming out so we can talk macro.
I love Doge. Elon,
you love Doge.
Push.
We need Doge accepted at the Tesla diner.
Oh my God! Please, Elon, for my familia.
So if you look, I haven't talked much about this yet, but another very, very big important tool that I use is this volume profile tool. And what it does is it measures the volume at specific prices. So this red line is the highest volume of this range. And as you can see, it's It's been very strong. It's been the start of our pumps. These
Yeah.
white lines are the basically the top 2/3 of volume takes place behind, like between these white lines. So
Interesting.
this whole area is strong volume. And you
Yeah.
can see on this move down, that's exactly where we bounced from, right here. Furthermore, this black line is not just some random line. It's actually a previous high all the way back from March 2024 that
Yep.
has been acting as a strong support and resistance level, especially on the smaller time frames. We've been tripped up here a lot.
What level is
And
that at?
this is at 23 cents.
Okay.
Now, Doge perfectly bounced from that area, just took some liquidity below from this wick right here, and then hit our volume zone, bounced back up, like I don't even know how many percent, bounced back up 7%. So that's a very positive sign, in my opinion. Now, the thing to keep in mind though is we're not out of the woods quite yet. We have this range up here that I marked with this black line. And you can
Yeah.
see this range has acted as support and resistance on this entire upward and downward move. So we are going to come back up and test this range. That's where Doge has to make its decision. That's where Elon has to have his tweet ready. So if we go from the high to the low, put on our golden pocket fibs again, it's right around that same area. So this is definitely an important area that we need to flip. And if we pull up our volume as well, we have that volume area. You can see how much stronger, like strong volume is in this area. So, and then even now we're rejecting short term from the highest volume point of this range right here. So once we flip this short term area, it'll look something like that. Then we're going to retest this. That's where Doge has to just fly through it. Otherwise, if that's the case, I'll tell you where I think it's going to go if we reject from there. And you might not like this, but if we do reject from there, what I would do is I would pull up a fib like this, and I would just look for confluences. So one clear confluence I see right now is in the highest volume traded zone, matches perfectly with the 786. This would be quite deep. This is 17 cents. And that's kind of like along the lines of, remember on that ETH chart where I had that deep 2800 zone? This would be in that same scenario where if we do get ETH down to 2800, this is where I would look for longs on Doge. And it would also be a retest of this downward trend line. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I think it's more likely to go up from here, especially considering we bounced from this volume. I just want your audience to be prepared. If we do get that downside move, that would be the zone that I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, I love the analysis. I think since Bitcoin's about to break or will break, I don't foresee a situation that Doge is going to go that low. I think that would be a disastrous move. I think right now, yeah, I see a clear double bottom that's been forming, and this was a retest of kind of like the neckline, and so and also there's volume profile. So I think to me that level where the white is the area in the sand. I think it's anything below that, it's good GG. It's good game. It's done. Like 21.8 cents. Anything below 22 is where we're basically wicked. Anything below that, I think it's done. But really good analysis. I think like on BitConnect, I have a position on Doge, and I think that one's good. I think that one will move fast, and I'm targeting a like the way I'm seeing the structure, that move up from like 18 cents or even starting at 15 cents all the way to 28.7 was your wave one. Right now you're seeing this correction from 28.7 to the wake of yesterday at 21.9 or 22. That's your wave two. That's what I'm banking on. And I obviously Elliott waves. If it goes below 22, then that means my count is incorrect and we're going deeper. But then you're just faced with tons of resistance. So I'm still bullish, man. I'm still bullish.
Yeah. So this is what you would see from an Elliott wave standpoint. This would actually be very, very bullish. It would be a 1-2, 1-2, which basically means that this is a higher degree of the other one. So, or actually, other way around. This is a smaller degree. This one is the higher degree. So what you would see is basically 1, 2, and then now wave 3 is starting, and then within those wave 3, it would be another 5 wave structure, right? That would take us up here, and we'd have another correction, and then continue up. So yeah, that would be the absolute best case scenario, and this thing would absolutely rocket to all-time highs. But one thing that I did just notice is one of the reasons we did drop is you can see it swept that liquidity almost perfectly from right here, and then got our downward move. We're retesting this accumulation zone.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's held so far. There's no reason to assume bearish unless we drop back into this range, right?
Yeah.
So be bullish at support and bearish at resistance, and you already won half the game. There's no reason to be doom and gloom unless we drop back in here.
I love it. I love it. All right, Tim, we got to wrap things up, but where can people find out more information about you? Do you have a Telegram channel? Do you just follow on X? Where can they get some alpha from you?
Yeah, follow on X. I provide everything 100% free trade setups. I'm always posting on X, and then YouTube. I do 2 to 3 YouTube videos per week of more shorter term analysis on Bitcoin and alts, all completely free. And then eventually I will be opening up my Telegram again. This is for more like closer members and more like refined trade setups. But for now, everything is always 100% free. And I just love sharing charts and ideas. So feel free to follow if you want some of that on your feed.
I highly recommend Tim to follow Tim. Straight up alpha that he gives out, and really knowledgeable about the markets. Tim, it's truly an honor. I will definitely be looking at the, by the way, that Doge resistance that you said is like kind of the make or break. It's around 256, 256. That would also be a very important zone because it would create a head and shoulders if it doesn't break out as well. So profit probably is going to be taken by a lot of people there, and then to be safe, probably just wait for the confirmation of the flip to resistance to support. So anyways, totally agree with you, man. And yeah, if you haven't done so already, guys, please follow him. And also, you want to participate on a non-KYC exchange, Bit2Next. Got you. Link in the bio. All right, bro. Great chatting with you.
Great chatting. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. And that's it, guys. Hope you learned a thing or two. Tim is a good dude. Market's looking good. Time to send, bro. Time to send. Full send this market. Let's go. Catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.